So investing and trading, right, is basically the art and the science of making money from money, right? They sound pretty similar. You're investing, you're putting your money into some sort of financial structure to make money from it. You're trading, you're putting your money into the financial market to make money from it. That's basically the summary of the definition of investing and trading. Now, in as much as they sound similar, they do have slight differences. And what are these differences? Investing is usually done over a longer period, you compounding your profits to build wealth. Do you agree with me? Then, when we're talking about trading, trading is usually done over a shorter period of time, and it's done more aggressively. We have different types of traders, of course. We have the swing traders, the scalpers, right? You're in and out of the market. You're doing it aggressively on a daily basis. If you're a swing trader, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 1 month, maybe a year. Regardless, it's not as long as those who do investments, right? Now, a while back, I read a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and this book was written by Robert Kiyosaki. And after I had read this book, in a way, it opened my eyes to see that, to a large extent, I am in control of how my finances turn out. It's one thing to be born into a poor family, it's another thing to leave the world and leave a poor family behind. Do you agree? I heard one popular saying, if you're 30, once you cross the 30 or 40, you can no longer blame your problems on your family or your background because you are now the background. You can't be blaming your problems on your family when you're over 40, right? Thank you. He also wrote another book, The Cash Flow Quadrants, and the first time I heard about this book was when I attended my trading at Value Flow Trading. That's where my journey began. I can never forget it. I literally came into this industry not knowing what a PEEP means. I was lost in my first class, I won't lie. I was like, so what's this? But I was willing to learn, right? All right, thank you. So I saw the book, The Cash Flow Quadrant, and this same author basically discussed 4 different ways by which we can build wealth. And they're trying to work on this, but shortly we'll see it. And on this quadrant, we have 4 different segments. The first one being the employees, and then the second one being the self-employed people. Now, who are employees? You're basically trying to build wealth, right, by climbing the corporate ladder, right? And if you were to run a survey right now in this hall, I'm sure 80% of us are employees. I'm an employee myself. Then we have the second quadrant, and those are the self-employed people. And what do? They are also trying to build businesses to make profit from, right? Only difference between the employee and the self-employed people is that the self-employed person cannot be fired. He owns his business. But at the end of the day, they are still exchanging their time for money. But not just time, the skills as well needed to thrive in whatever corporate environment that they find themselves in. Then we have the second segment, and those are the business owners and the investors. Now, I remember I just spoke about the employees and the self-employed people. In as much as they have the highest number of people, they only get to amass 5% wealth. It's crazy. So you have this large amount of people working tirelessly, but when it comes to people who hold substantial amounts of money from that particular quadrant, they are not as much as the others. But then you talk about the business owners, and what these business owners do is they employ people who can build their businesses for them. Sorry, can someone come fix this, please? I'd like to share my screen. While I wait for that to be sorted. Now, the business owner owns a system. He owns people, not own, but he has people whose collective efforts help him build wealth. Thank you. The collective efforts help build wealth, and then we have the investors who basically make money from money. Now, I know oftentimes, traditionally, in Nigeria especially, it is expected that once you graduate, you just get a job, get a normal 9 to 5, and just live your life from there. But the thing is, in as much as building wealth from these quadrants is very possible, it is harder compared to the business owners. because how long will it take you to be able to climb up a corporate ladder to the point where you get to become a CEO or a board of director to make substantial amount of money, right? So what is my goal as a person? First, to thrive being an employee, because you cannot just say being an employee is not all that important. For someone like me who is a trader, the fact that I find myself in an environment where I earn a fixed income at the end of the month while I do my trading has helped my life a lot, right? So let's not even try to downplay that. And then the self-employed people, basically, who also fall in the same quadrant. So for me, I want to be able to move from being an employee to a self-employed person, eventually a business owner, and then an investor as fast as possible. Right? Are we together? Are we together, please? Thank you. Now, at this point, you might be asking yourself, is it possible for you to become a fourth quadrant investor? Of course it is. It's very, very possible, but will you eventually become a fourth quadrant investor? See, because we talk about this thing and in a way glorify it, doesn't mean that staying in whatever quadrant you belong in is a bad thing. There are people who make billions of naira at the end of the month from being employees, right? But for you to be able to move from the other quadrant to this quadrant depends on your personality style. So, people who do not like risks, you do not want to take any form of risk, what quadrant do you think you belong to? The employee, right? And then for people who are risk takers and don't mind taking those risks, what quadrant should you be in? Thank you. Now, let's get our pen and paper out. The first thing you want to do is to identify where you are right now. I know we're talking. You should go back and ask yourself this question, because the quadrant where you fall in right now depends on where you make most of your money from. How many of us are employees in this hall? How many of us are employees in this hall? Thank you. Self-employed people? Self-employed people, amazing. Do we have business owners in our midst as well? Thank you so much. Investors? So you look like an investor. User? Oh, the man behind you. Right, so first you want to identify where you are. Where does most of your income come from right now? What affects each quadrant is where you make most of your money from. If you're collecting money after 30 days working for a company, of course you fall in the employee quadrant. The next thing you want to do after you've identified that is to decide where you want to be. Normal schools that we attend teach us to be very amazing employees, right? And when you go to school, people who are awarded the highest grades are people who do not make mistakes. They don't make mistakes now. Or rather, I would say this is where it doesn't favor people who are on the business owner quadrants, because those guys who fall on those quadrants are people who have made several mistakes. Several. The guy who generated light, right? He failed 1,001, is it 1,100 times before he eventually got his way ahead with what he wanted to do. So decide where you want to be. If your primary goal is to attain financial freedom, I would say sometimes the left quadrant isn't the safest place for you to be to want to achieve that, because in as much as it is attainable, it takes a longer period of time. Decide if financial freedom is for you. There's a reason why we hear financial freedom and they go hand in hand. The world we live in today largely depends on finances. Can you go to, I don't know, Abuja, but can you go somewhere in Abuja and then not pay who takes you there? Or can you drive your car and not have fuel in your car, right? The world we live in today largely depends on finances. And we're in this world to live life, and to live life, you need money. So first, decide if financial freedom is for you, and then the next thing you want to do is to gain financial intelligence. What do I mean? Attend seminars. You're here already. Although this is not a seminar, this is a traders, it's a boot camp, but attend seminars, be in the midst of people who are where you want to be. And that's why I don't joke with my job. I go to work every day excited. Is that weird? Is that weird? Like, there are times I'll be sick and I'll still go to the work, to my office. Like, my parents say, go back and lie down. Like, what am I doing at home? Why? Because I genuinely enjoy what I do, and I genuinely enjoy being around the people that I'm around, because they help me become better. They challenge me. At value flow trading, you have to constantly be learning. Constantly. Ask our bosses, they're always bringing on new challenges. Like, you'll be like, you've not even finished learning this one that you were learning before, you're already going to the next step. Right? Gain financial in this journey. right, of seeking financial freedom through this specific route. So first, identify the risks. Have you realized that so many companies come up, and for the first 2-3 years, you hear so many noise about them everywhere. After 5 years, you don't hear about them anymore. Most times they pack up because they didn't either identify all the risks that could be involved, or they left out of fear, right? Risks involved are, and how to mitigate them if you ever come across them. Get the skills needed. Sometimes you go to church, and I don't think this is a bad thing, but the pastor will be praying, I see you ending this year with 100 million naira, and you're screaming, amen, amen, amen. It can happen, but how? There has to be a route through which it comes to you, right? You don't need skills. Don't just drop in your account now. Or has that ever happened to anybody? You just see miraculous alerts in your account. Please, if you have, tell me, let me come to your church. But you need skills to get to where you want to be. Continue learning continuously. You cannot stop that. Right? And continue investing in yourself. That's the greatest gift or the greatest thing you can do for yourself as a person. Because nobody will come to save you. Nobody is coming to save you. Keep learning, keep taking courses, implement the courses you are taking, right? During our trainings at the academy, we don't just talk about Forex, we talk about real life events as well.
Still made money. I'm the one that withdrawal, so I understand that she has made money.